You're going to have to bear with me, I'm going to have to hammer through this. So I've got it written down. Anyway, I first met Eric in the summer of 1996. It was my first summer here at Frost Valley. Now, during the summer, I'd heard long-time staff members say, wait till Blum gets here. And I thought, what's that? Who is this guy? And what's so special about him being here? And they told me, oh, he's this grumpy old redneck nurse. but he's not really grumpy, and he's pretty damn awesome. We don't really trust the nurses here, just Blum. So when Blum gets here, we get to do stupid stuff because he can put us back together. I met Blum that year, and they were 100% correct. He was really old and grumpy. In 1998, I started to play golf with Eric, Steve Perkis, Mark Ogdenker, and a few other people. And I got to know Eric more, realized he wasn't very as grumpy as people said. And he was actually a really nice guy and a consummate professional, especially with regards to nursing. A perfect example of this would be one afternoon when I visited the health centre with a very uncomfortable rash on my backside. Embarrassed, I sheepishly entered the health centre and told Eric that my visit was of a personal nature, and I was very embarrassed. He assured me discretion and led me into a side room. I told him the problem and that he had to promise not to tell anyone. He mumbled something about patient confidentiality, and then, in his kind of, his weird way, drop him. So I dropped him. So I'm turned around, posterior in the air, and then I hear the following. Eric to Rob, Eric to Rob. I got Butcher here at the infirmary, and he's got a rash on his fat. I'm not going to say what he said because we're in a place of worship. So yeah, Blum had privately told Rob, our camp director, about it. And also, I believe there were 32 radios in circulation that summer. So then he went on the radio, he said, 2 things, Rob. Number 1, you don't pay me enough to deal with what checks behind. Number 2, I ain't got a veterinarian's license, and I think that's what's needed. A negotiation took place over the radio where Eric accepted a $1 bonus to examine me, gave me some hydrocortisone, and sent me on my way. Thanks, Eric. Patient confidentiality. I quickly discovered from spending time with Eric that he had the sense of humour of a 12-year-old. So do I. Nothing made Eric laugh harder and longer than a well-timed release of wind. Eric called it passing flatus. And indeed, when he passed flatus, which was very often, and he blamed on his medications, but we never really thought that, he would beam and yell, oh, fromage, and giggle. I recall walking across Margaret's Field, and Eric running up to Philby's Field, as it's called now, and Eric running up to me like an excited school kid, yelling that I had to come with him right now and hear this. He led me up to the room he was sharing with Steve Perkis upstairs in Margette's. In the room were Steve and Mark. He told Mark to put on the CD. You didn't think I'd go here, did you, Mark? All I'm going to say about the next hour in that room with 3 adults, one of them a professional nurse and 2 of them teachers, was the CD was called Pull My Finger and contained 60 minutes of real recorded flatus. Each track was named. And what Eric would do, he'd read out the track names before it was played, and they were all kind of funny names. Then he'd roll onto his back, screaming with laughter and kicking his legs in the air. At one point, a girl called McHugh was working in it. She walked into the room, just looked at 4 grown men, hysterically laughing, and just, I don't even want to know, and closed the door. I actually don't know what I found funny, the CD or Eric's reaction. A couple of summers later, I was doing a Blum, which meant I couldn't work the entire summer. I was instead taking my vacation to volunteer for 4 weeks. I arrived at camp and was told I was rooming with Eric. Even though we were friends, Eric wasn't totally happy. Eric had roomed with Steve Perkis for many years, and this was the first year Steve wasn't at camp, and Eric was with Steve, and that's how it was. So he was kind of cranky about the whole thing. But this was the year that we really went from friends to close friends. Our room was motel style. It was actually upstairs in Margaret's Lodge, their offices now. It was 2 full beds with a dresser at the end. We would buy a big box fan and put it on the dresser, facing the bed at the beginning of the summer. Sharing a room with Eric was a challenge. Mainly because he insisted that the rest of the health centre staff worked so hard that when he was here, he did on-call every night. Let them sleep, I will do on-call if there's a problem at night. And Eric ain't quiet at 3 a.m. Eric did, however, begin the nightly ritual for the first time he was woken with a call in the middle of the night. This was at 3 a.m. to stand at the bottom of my bed right before he left the room and yell, "Hey, Bucek," before turning the box fan right at me and passing flavors in front of it so I got full vent. He would then gleefully skip out of the room laughing like a 12-year-old yelling fromage. Eric would always help volunteer to help the directors on call too. This involved 2 of us walking around camp sometimes till 2 a.m. Eric loved this. I would never do my fair share of on-calls until Eric arrived because I liked doing it with Eric, so I more than made up for it when he was here. We spent hours walking around camp with a dip in, sometimes sneaking the odd cigar too, talking about camp life, etc. Eric always told it how it was. Doesn't matter who you were, where you came from, if you asked Eric a question, you got the truth, and that was that. If you were, in Eric's words, if you were acting like a horse's ass, he'd tell you you were acting like a horse's ass, and he did many times. He didn't suffer fools, but he had a huge heart. I learned a lot about his life during my time with him. Speaking of which, I came close to ending that myself in 2005. We were doing our usual on-call together, and I was a camp director. We decided to use one of the new golf carts we had parked outside the dining hall while we locked it up. It was after midnight. Well, we returned to the golf cart and I am driving, and I go to set off, but the god of fate had conspired against us, and I left the steering lock fully locked into the left-hand position. At the exact moment that I accelerated with the full steering lock on left, Eric was leaning over, putting a dip of Red Man or whatever it was. So the effect was the golf cart swinging this way, Eric flying that way out of the golf cart, and he ran over some part of him. My heart was in my mouth. I stopped, ran to him, and he was motionless. Crap, I killed him long. About 20 seconds with me like a deer in headlights passed because I'm a good emergency, that's why we had Eric account. All of a sudden, emotionless Eric flipped over onto his back and yelled, "Spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch," and jumped up, his sweater ripped, just a mess. And we got back into the golf cart without a word spoken, and I think our hearts were pounding through our chests. And we started to drive down the hill between the dining hall, down towards Big Tree Field. And about 10 seconds later, Eric looked at me and said, "You almost killed me. I'm reporting you to Jerry to withdraw your golf cart privileges." And we started to laugh. And it's midnight. It's not lit. We start to laugh and laugh. We're teared up. And then we hit the tree. Like any camp professionals, we parked the golf cart back outside Mount Hayden that night and let somebody else take the blame. I'm coming clean now, Jerry. I think we all have funny stories involving Eric, and these stories are the way I've chosen to remember our friend. Eric wasn't just my friend, he was my advisor, my right-hand man, a person who was much, much wiser than he let on, and who guided me through many sticky situations at camp. I cherish every moment I spent with him and feel privileged to have known him. I think of him daily and miss him terribly. Thank you. John?